clean, but not very Brian May. So we'll overdrive it a bit more. Let's see what we can do, and then I'll get to the point of today for you. So yeah. We stop there. Yeah, we'll stop there. Okay, just bear with me a second, and then we'll turn it all off. Yeah, basically what I want to talk about today is the importance of a decent setup on a guitar. Maybe it's something you haven't considered, but it's something that you should. I mean, have you seen this guitar before on this channel? It's even though it doesn't say Burns, it's basically it's a Burns era Brian May guitar. This one's made in Korea. Had it a while. I mean, I got it because, like, you know, I had a more recent model Brian May guitar, similar colour, except this is a bit redder. There's a whole video about that somewhere on the channel. But I saw this and I thought, but this one actually sounded better. But whoever had it before me had set it up with gauge 10 strings. Now I'm not quite sure why they did that, because, you know, like Dr. Brian uses gauge 8 strings, doesn't he? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just been like a rule of thumb that, you know, people think, oh, shorter scale guitar, you need heavier strings, or this sort of mythos that heavier strings means better tone. And then, well, not necessarily, no. So yeah. So basically, I spent a good afternoon just getting this thing set up. These are gauge 8 strings, Diodario 9s, 9 to 42, I think they are, the XLs, and yeah, sorting the trem system out. So I had the back plate off. It did have 4 springs in it, but it's got 3 now. Giving it a good clean, obviously, sorting out the pickup height, getting a bit more. I mean, it's not completely set up, you know, exactly right, but there's a bit more bite in these 2 pickups now, which is predominantly where I'm going to be using it. But it's the fact that, like, with a decent setup, because I mean, it's got locking tuners too, so that helps. But a decent setup, and this guitar's been given a whole new lease of life. You know, there's sounds in it which I didn't actually know were there. And I've always liked Brian May's tone, but I've always thought as well that that there's a lot more in that guitar than perhaps than perhaps Brian's got out of it. I mean, he has got a lot out of it, and whenever you see him with the Red Special, plug it in, it's definitely Brian May. You know it's him. But my analogy is kind of like, if you're playing a Les Paul, it's almost like, well, you should be playing like How High the Moon and Enter Mr. Not Enter the Sandman, Mr. Sandman. Enter Sandman. Oh, Mr. Sandman. Okay. And likewise, Stratocasters were associated with surf music, and they've gone out of favour. But they were brought into fashion again, predominantly by players like Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix, and if you would, well, I don't need to tell you who uses Strats, but somebody has discovered that if you put a Strat through a high gain amp, it sounds pretty good. If you put a Les Paul through a high gain amp, it sounds pretty good. If you put this through a high gain amp, it also sounds very good, but you get like sort of various, like you get more sort of richer harmonic overtones, and because it's semi-hollow, you get more sustain in it as well. I think because I've been playing that Gibson Midtown recently, which is also sort of semi-hollow, I think maybe I've just been thinking somewhere along those lines. But the shorter scale as well, it means you can actually fly around the fretboard. I know on the authentic Red Special that the neck is sort of a bit thick. I mean, this is quite a thick neck, but on the real Red Special, the neck is sort of quite bulky. But that's on the real one. But but this has got like a reasonable chunk to it. But it means I can actually get sort of those weird sort of Alan Holdsworth stretches, play 4 notes of string, and just fly around on it. If that's what I wanted to do, as well as play those chord suspensions which are more associated with Brian May, etc., etc. But yeah, well, to get back to the point again, sometimes you may have seen a guitar, like think, oh, that looks good, and tried it in a music shop, and you thought, well, that's a bit of a dog. It's really hard to play. I don't like it. Or you may have felt the inspiration, got the guitar home, played it a bit, but there's something about it which just isn't quite working for you, and so it stays in its case, or you forget about it, and it's only like sort of months or perhaps even years later you bring it out and you think, well, actually that was quite a good guitar, and all it probably needed was just a decent setup and just a change of strings, the right change of strings. I mean, for me, I think gauge 8s are a bit too light. They're a bit too flimsy. They're like hair. I know you can do really deep string bends and things like that, but I like gauge 9s for me. I like the fact that the eyes still got a bit of resistance in them. You can bend the strings if that's what you want. You can get better vibrato on gauge 9s, I think, than on 10s, and especially on like a shorter gauge, on a shorter scale guitar. It just seems to work. Also, like things like with the height as well. I mean, there's a temptation to try and just level the thing, but then you're not letting the strings bloom. When you actually pluck an open string like that, it's not just vibrating up and down. It's circular. Like this. There'll be like a standing wave there, but it'll be it'll be circular as well as up and down, and so those resonances have got to come in, and you know, and then if the strings are vibrating properly, then that's going to go through into the guitar. If it's well set up, then you're not going to get, you know, like resistance at the nut or here. I mean, like I said, these are locking tuners, but yeah. So you see what I mean? I mean, maybe I should have done like a before and after, you know, like with the heavier strings on it and whatnot. But it was a real faff. Just, you know, like just. I mean, that's one thing I really hate about guitar is changing the strings, and then when you change gauges, yes, it is a bit of a pain in the proverbial, because you've got to, like, you know, get the screwdriver in the back to where the claw is to get the thing set up right. But once it is set up properly, then, you know, it's well worth it, because it's, you know, it just brings a whole new lease of life to an instrument you may have neglected. Okay, so that's something to think about. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Please comment below. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.